So yeah, I was going to say, I'm curious if Chidwick is maybe going to slow down on Brinkhenny because he's been out of line twice against him. And the gap's being closed.
We're not going to buy
That's the type of hand for 3-bet. That's the shitty type of hand for 3-bet.
What a situation for Dan Smith. He's on the short stack now. He's a little bit less than 20 big blinds. You know that Big Al is very likely to limp weaker hands.
So the question is it a jam or an overlimp? And he's trying to decide. I don't think you should be raising to isolate. I feel like it's an all-in or just
like one of the last
behind the
tourneys, I had a
situation.
nice one with the king 6 off, 3-betting a big blind too, just like bet shove. Like comes ace high and get the guy to fold an ace, and then win that one, and then they got bluffed it off to me.
Yeah, so he's just gonna call here.
Bigger one the next day for like all the chips.
Really nice for him to see the button fold. At least he'll have position flop.
Ooh, good thing he didn't jam because he would have got action from Adams.
He like, I raised the cutoff to 2K. If he makes it 120 in the small blind, I call pocket 7s with the 7 hearts. It comes queen 4 deuce with 3 hearts. He bets 150. I call. Turn comes pairs the 4. He bets 250. I call. River's a 9 of hearts, and he shoves like 550 and just has ace 6 off, no heart. And I had like 4 or 5x average or something. That's an eternity you gotta see. That's how we got all the chips.
Great escape.
We are in the biggest buy-in tournament of poker history. There are 8 left. It's a £1 million buy-in tournament, 19 million pounds up top. We got Big L, businessman, limping in from under the gun with ace-3 suited. He could be having some other ace-x suited, some suited connectors, some small pocket pairs, and then probably is also raising some other hands. He might be also occasionally trapping, you know, with a big hand like pocket aces, pocket kings, pocket queens. We don't know that for sure until we've seen it. It comes over to Dan Smith. He's got a lot of that money in there and a little bit less than 20 blinds, so going all in with the pocket 5s would be definitely a viable option here, but he likes to overlimp in the cutoff and trying to play some post flop. We have Timothy Adams with a top 4% holding here, pocket 9s. He's definitely looking to be raising it up here. Makes it a sizing of, I think, a little bit more than, actually almost 7x, or a little bit more than 6x the blinds actually. And he's going to have a lot of other strong holdings, not other than nice, and like definitely maybe 8s plus, and then some, you know, also weaker blocker type of hands such as ace jack offsuit, ace queen offsuit, and of course also ace king, and maybe some king queen suited and other suited Broadway hands that he also wants to bump up this pot after he's shown he's basically shown weakness by the other players.
But Dan Smith.
I like the big raise from Adams. His hand is very vulnerable, can be tough to play on some flops. You're out of position. You know Big Al likes to call and see flops. Try to price him out and not play a tough situation out of position with such high pay jumps to come. Can he shake Big Al? Nope.
Now, this is actually a problem when you have a hand like 9s. You really want to take it down, and of course there are favorable flops, but 9s are very vulnerable here.
60? Yes.
Well, Smith does not have the odds to set mine. So he should be going all in or fold. The thing is, if he goes all in, it seems likely he's going to get action from 2 people. Because it's only 10 big blinds more. Everyone's committed about 6 to 7 big blinds.
Let's go make the folds. Nice folds.
Dan Smith gets out of the way after Big Al's making the call here in position against Timothy Adams. Now, if we see the ace-3 suited, we can assume that there's going to be a lot of suited connectors also in his limp calling range, I guess, and some you know, pocket pairs as well, trying to play some post flop. Probably we can discount some of the offsuit combinations, maybe not king jack off, maybe not king queen off, who knows, and probably also not the ace 10 off and only the hands with higher kickers. But you cannot know for sure. And here's really where observation is extremely important, you know, looking at the showdowns that happened prior to this and trying to estimate, what kind of hands, businessmen that you don't often play with are continuing here, so that post flop you can make more accurate decisions.
Wow, not flush draw for Big Al.
Adams is the pre-flop raiser, and it's an okay flop for you. He's got the best hand, but the thing is, in a high pressure situation with money jumps on a final table, say you bet and get called, you'd have no idea if your opponent has a jack or a draw.
Exactly.
And it's very tricky. He's going to keep control of the hand. I believe he's just hoping his opponent just folds.
Yeah, I really like the small bet. At least he keeps it all a little bit marginal. I mean, if you bet 800 here and your opponent calls, you just gotta give him a lot of credit for Queen Jack. Jack 10.
Against Big Al might interpret the small bet as a feeler kind of bet, and he might raise here.
Heading over to the flop, we got the Jack 6-4 with 2 diamonds. Whenever there's a high card and a little bit lower cards, maybe 6 or lower, and they're a little bit disconnected from the high card, the pre-flop aggressor that has a more uncapped range, so he's has the highest pocket pairs, aces, kings, and queens in that with 100% frequency, tends to have more equity on average, and Timothy Adams therefore goes for a very small continuation, but in order to basically target those weaker hands that don't connect with the flop, for example 10-9 that doesn't have a backdoor flush draw or front door flush draw and doesn't want to float at all for this really small price, and basically just denying some equity to other hands. With pocket nines is a really good option, because let's say your opponent doesn't have a diamond in it with like Queen 10, for example. Also, that hand in particular has at least 6 outs and some backdoor equity as well. So getting that hand to fold is a great outcome. Gets over to Big L, who has the ace-3 of diamonds. He's obviously not going anywhere here, and he just is gonna be calling here in position and to see a turn.
So I think he said just call.
Yeah.
Call. If he made the raise, I think Adams would have folded.
This is a very rough situation here for Adams.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's the good turn card? The 9 and only the 9?
Yeah, then he only has one of them. He can hit. I would say this is pretty good though.
I think Adams is probably, with this hand, looking to put one more bet, whether it's a call or bet himself at most. Don't think he's looking to play for all of the chips. He knows that when he bets small, he does induce players to float behind him with king queens, some pocket pairs, some ace highs. The thing is, Big Al has a really wide range. We saw him limp like 7-8 suited and stuff from under gun. So that 6 can actually improve Big Al, while
So
some
true.
other players, not possible.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think this is the situation where you're up against the only player at the table who could have a 6 here. And that matters,
It's another small bet. And I'm curious to see how Big Al is going to react to that. Big Al might be thinking, A, you're trying to keep me in because you got a really big hand, because you're betting small. Or B, you're trying to get a cheap river. Maybe I can blow you off of it if I make it huge. Looks like he is just going to call. He seems a little bit worried, but that's the calling chips. Does he want to grab more? It looks like he is grabbing more. No? Yeah, let's use one of those time extensions.
Oh man.
Adams is thinking, please just fold. Sucks to play out of position.
Sounds like a call. Yeah.
The turn is the 6 of hearts, and from Timothy Adams' perspective, not that much changes here, except for now all the top pairs from the flop, the Jack 10, Queen Jack, King Jack, Ace Jack type of hands. Now also some 6x combinations are beating him: 6-7 suited, 6-5 suited, and Ace 6 suited. These are like 6 combinations additionally. And you know, the Jack X combinations are still going to be more in terms of how many of them are. And there's still plenty of draws out there to be getting some value from and to protect against. And also, if he's down betting again, like he does here with the nines, he could be folding out something like, you know, ace-3, ace-5 of clubs that called on the flop with a backdoor flush draw and now whiffed. Also some of the king-queen combinations, but there's not going to be that many hands that are folding at this point, especially not versus a small sizing. The flop folds that were quite natural for Big L here in position on the flop, they were already folded on that street. Now on the turn, because he already folded out those hands, there's not going to be that many more hands that fold, especially for that small amount here. Big L still has a nut flush draw. He's not going anywhere with it. Let's see what happens on the river.
Million in the middle.
Big spot so far.
Big Al trying to see if he can hit his hand. Does not. So is Adams gonna do a block bet? I think it's reasonable if he thinks that Big Al might bet, like, say Big Al has like a flush draw, he just bets like 3 million. He's not looking to call 3 million.
That's really an excellent point, because if you check here and your opponent shoves, you know, maybe even if you think, well, I could be getting called by a jack, but whatever, I'm just gonna bet 500,000 again.
And there's a reason he bets small on a flop and turn. All in from Big Al.
Oh, he wasted no time.
The river is the 4 of hearts. Timothy Adams checks, and now Big Al says, you know what, man? I'm going to put you to the test. Let's go all in here with the ace high and make him fold some stuff. Now, if you look at this river, Timothy Adams obviously has a wide range of hands. He can have all these pocket pairs also lower than to a jack, you know, down betting on the flop and the turn, and then looking to basically showdown on the river. He could still be having some ace highs, of course, that would also trying to look to showdown, maybe some ace king and ace queen with like a diamond blocker. Now, he's also going to have some of the biggest pairs, the queens, kings, and aces. I think with those, he might actually down bet another time on the river in order to, you know, extract some value of the jack X combinations. And, you know, he probably could also have some jack that's not too strong with a kicker, and he will probably check those as well. So he has some stronger hands that want to go to a showdown also in his range. When it comes to Big Al's range, he's probably going to have a bunch of busted draws, which he may or may not bluff. You know, if he's actually bluffing all his ace X of diamonds here and all his suited connectors with diamonds, 9-8 suited, 9, you know, 8-7 suited, and maybe queen 10 suited and king 10 suited, he actually has way too many bluffs here on the river, and there's really question whether that could be true here, seeing his hand. And also, you know, in terms of value hands, it's really interesting. Would he really, timing-wise, go all in immediately here on the river with a hand like king jack suited or ace jack even? You know, if he has a value range of maybe ace jack or better, you know, basically targeting those weaker hands, those weaker jack X combinations, and that will be fairly reasonable, of course. And all these 6 combinations that I mentioned with a 6, so 6-5 suited, 6-7 suited, ace-6 suited, that's going to be, you know, wrapping fairly thin, and he's going to have a bunch of value hands. Now it comes back to Timothy Adams, and let's see what he does.
I love it.
He wasted no time. We didn't even know it was his turn yet.
Now, some players, you might be thinking, this guy's got a flush draw or he's got pocket jacks. No. Big Al, he can have 6-7, 6-8, 6-5, ace-6 suited, even a 4, because when you bet small on a flop and you bet small on a turn, someone's got good odds he's going to lay down.
What a bluff by Big Al. Shows it too.
Ooh, Alfred, Decarolis.
That is incredible.
Don't call him Big Al for nothing.
Big Al taking the kids to the streets. I gotta get some appreciation there from Timothy Adams.
Timothy Adams lets it go here rather quickly on the river, and from a GTO perspective, that's rather understandable. I mean, he has pocket 9s. It's going to be one of the weakest combinations in this range. Even if he has like 7 of clubs, 7 of spades here on the river, it's probably going to be a better bluff catch if he thinks that, you know, Big Al is not going to have a jack jamming here for value, because 7 of clubs, 7 of spades blocks at least, you know, the 2-7-6 suited combinations. So it removes these 6 combinations of clear value, these trips or basically now full houses, and removing 2 of them down to 4 combinations that he's facing that are always going to be played this way. So 7s with those 2 black 7s definitely going to be a much better hand than the pocket 9s here. Also, if you look at this pre-flop range, you know, some of the weaker pre-flop holdings such as ace jack offsuit are not going to make top pair top kicker, and he's also going to have some ace king ace queen, which, you know, also these having now ace high here on the river is not necessarily a much worse hand to have with it. It might be even be a better hand because, you know, is Big Al going to jam like 5s, 7s or 8s or so for value? Not really, right? So, or he's also not bluffing them for the most part. So, you know, having ace king high is actually, you know, the same as pocket 9s here on the river. And having, for example, you know, the ace of clubs removing the ace 6 suited is going to be, again, a better bluff catch than pocket 9s to begin with. So yeah, one of the weakest hands that you could have. Now, again, I want to mention the timing that happened here. Big Al jammed instantly for value in position. This might remove the top pair type of hands and might polarize him to having 6 combinations of value. And when people are wrapping really this thing, at least I would consider, you know, using some of my time banks to consider hero calling. I know it's for a big it's a big stage here at this point with 8 left, and the downside to losing here are much higher. In this ICM in play, you don't want to buzz out 8 when there's all these other 20 big blind stacks around, and you might want to ladder a lot. But, you know, if your opponent's going to jam with all the busted diamond combinations here that he could enter the pot with here, you know, all these suited connectors, suited ace-x type of hands, then, you know, all of a sudden you're looking down at a really wide bluffing range that he could be having. And I think, you know, at least thinking about it here on the river would be something that's pretty good. Also, now let me in the comment section below if you like this hand analysis. Don't forget to hit the like button down here and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell if you like this video and want to see more of them in the future. Thanks for watching. See you for the next one.